Hi, welcome to the video. Now I'm sure you got some questions. What? Who are you? I am you from the future. My replacement? Was I not beautiful enough? Shh. You were always beautiful enough to me. Okay, now that that's out the way, safe for work. Okay, just a little disclaimer here at the start. I'm gonna be laughing and making jokes. The film itself delves into some quite serious topics, but I'm primarily talking about the production here, and working on films is fun, so therefore I laugh. Okay, there, disclaimer done. You know how Boxcat Touch Grass has 1,300 individual drawings, and I complained about that at the time? This one has 2,328. And it is also 8.5 minutes long, which marks the longest animation project I've ever worked on, if you do not count this series as a single project. And also the animated project that I've drawn the most individual drawings for. And guess what? That wasn't even the hard part. Because I've made animation before. It's not that bad. It is time consuming, but kind of easy. I'm very, very accustomed to it, and it's mostly the type of empty brain work that you can just do on the side while, I don't know, talking in a call or watching a YouTube video. But there were many, many, many things that I had to do for this project, completely unrelated to animation, that I have never done before. So I spent money on this project. Now, making any sort of longer animation is typically the type of venture where you can't be expecting a return in whatever time investment you made. $200 for several months of work is not exactly fair payment, but this is the first time that I actually expect to be losing money. At some point between planning and execution, the scale of the project got too large for me to comfortably work on. Finland is currently in the middle of an unemployment crisis, but I'm going to be graduating into a field with a 95% employment rate, as well as some of the highest average starting pace in the country. And this is super great, but it likely also means that I'm going to be getting employed pretty soon, and I will not be having the time to work on large projects like this anymore. My expenses are generally quite low, and I have been making money off of YouTube since I was 17, so I have money in the bank and no student debt. Studying in Finland is cheap anyway, so I was just thinking, all things considered, it would make sense for me to just start employing people to do the things that I can't or don't want to do, to speed up the process. So I hired Kuti to make the backgrounds. An altogether embarrassing ordeal, because I am not great at explaining my ideas to other people. I had concept art and I'd later make a storyboard, but I'm not used to animating storyboards that other people would have to make sense of. And I realized that I was making a weird film. Trying to explain it to others was embarrassing. So she's fixing the machine and it's kind of aggressive, but it's also sex, right? This is this is sex. And it's also introspection, and the machine is its own entity, but it's also herself in a way. So
yeah, I can work with this.
Oh, you can? I have worked with Kuti before, so we just kind of did one test shot, this one by the way, and concluded that yes, looks good, this works. I decided not to color in the animation, but to shade situationally and to once again do the MS Paint-esque pixelated outlines, which make the remaining coloring I have to do super fast and make the drawings always stand out from the background. There's also the other thing that whenever you bring a new person into a creative project, you kind of lose control of it a little, because no matter how clearly you'd explain a creative concept, a different person will inevitably bring a bit of themselves into it. I had these concept drawings of the machine that okay, let's face it, they're awesome. But if we had tried to go with this style, I don't think this film would have ever been finished. So I kind of let Kuti do whatever he wants. For instance, I told them to add in subtle anatomical details to the backgrounds of the deeper parts of the machine, and can I show that on YouTube? Maybe if I cover it up a bit and okay, that's better. Oh my god. I do think the backgrounds are super great, just our work chat was also very professional, of course. The only time that I actually held Kuti back was when he put Stubiaoi, oh yeah, these guys are kind of modeled after our current president, for no reason. The biggest struggle was not making them look exactly like all the men in Vyun's animations, because Vyun's a big inspiration for me, but I don't want to just copy, but I did still want to do them with the line tool to make them contrast with the design of the protagonist. So yeah, anyway. Kuti tried making the older worker gay, and I said, no, that's not allowed. Koti has a couple things to say about working on the backgrounds of the film, so I'm going to let them take the stage now for a bit.
This was my first time working as a designated background artist, and as a person who has dreaded drawing insides of buildings or machinery, it was definitely a dive straight to the deep end. But I also got to draw so many of my favorite things. Well, I got to draw things like... Working on this film was an amazing opportunity, and my use of colors and shapes definitely improved a ton. And I mean, it was just so fun. I love seeing the characters walking around in the environments I painted and just wink wink and nudge nudge. I would love to be hired to do more work like this in the future. Also, a fun minigame for you all. I did hide 2 actual faces of the current president of Finland in the background.
You did what?
Yeah, that's enough of that, I think. Aside from backgrounds, which I didn't want to do myself, there was also another thing that needed to be done that I couldn't do myself. I did not know how. Which was music. This thing needed audio. Could I have figured out how to make music myself? Maybe. Could I have used random music that I found online? Yeah. But I kinda didn't want to. In Boxcat Touchgrass, I had just this one song which I had permission to use that I would kinda remix myself to fit the different scenes better. So make it cheery here and then spooky here and here, just kinda have it in the background. This approach allowed me a lot of control over the audio, but I also hated it. Working on the audio of that project was actually 100% the most tedious part for me. So I needed someone else on the project who understood audio, but it would also necessitate me explaining the project to somebody new, so I procrastinated for several months. This is really the primary reason that it took so long to finish, because while Koti is somebody that I know pretty well, I couldn't really think of anyone who did music off the top of my head. I didn't want to bring somebody into the project that I'd never talked to because the project is kind of personal, and then it dawned on me that I had to talk to somebody who does OST, a couple times on Discord.
Hi, Intikus. Timidly knocks on your door. Do you take commissions? Eats door, come on in, yeah, I do.
So I brought Intikus on board. Intikus may be familiar to some of you for having done music for Rain World's DLCs. He's also done original music and just a lot of stuff actually. Originally, I was just going to commission a few tracks for the film, but I looked away for 1 second and the loop that was supposed to blame the background for the cafeteria scene had evolved into a bonus track with lyrics, and he was also now making jingles and sound effects. Intikus also has a few things to say about his work on the film.
When I got reached out, I just first started off with a little draft for the hallway and the breakup scene, and after I did that, I procrastinated for a month. North Lao. But then when I got over my ass and started working on things because I'm fucking competent, I did it. You just gotta identify the vibes. If it's slow, then make slow pads, and if it's subdued, then make some grating noise. And then if it's intense, then make everything destroy itself in a cacophony of noise and distortion. And if it's eerie, then fuck it.
I still did the majority of the sound effects myself, either by utilizing Creative Commons stuff online or by recording my own stuff, like this here, for example. It is made of the sound of rubber gloves being rubbed together and me pulling at my cheeks, as one does. I also decided to make both a Finnish and an English dub for the film, and I got some voice actors on board for that. I've had voice actors in my videos before, but it was either for fandom stuff or they were my friends, so I hadn't actually been paying them. That was another expense this time around, though a relatively small one compared to paying Intikus and Kuti. So I'm sure you're curious, how much money did all of this cost? Well, you see, art is actually kind of expensive. Let's just say that it was equivalent to my total living costs, including rent, for about 4 months. That's a lot. Am I crazy to spend that much money on a passion project? Maybe, but what else is money good for? I kind of feel like in this era of AI slop replacing artists, I think it's important to support them and pay them properly, be the change you want to see in the world and all that. If you don't want AI art to be everywhere, then you need to pay real artists. I voiced the protagonist myself in both the dubs and also voiced the cafeteria manager in the Finnish dub, because nobody applied for that role. I recorded all the lines of the protagonist on my back to get that particular register that I wanted. Lots of screaming was involved. I had to redo the lines a few times, but no one ever called the cops on me, so that's great. The protagonist's lines in the Finnish version are low-key much better than the English one.
I'm nothing like you. Ei yhtään niinku sä. Such is life, I suppose.
I also decided to give a voice to the computer dialogue in the finished up because it's kinda important, and what if someone can't read English, etc. I did these lines very quickly by ASMRing at my laptop's extremely shitty microphone and then messing with the formant in Audacity. At this point, I was still under the belief that I wouldn't be able to change the visuals on the finished dub because I was supposed to upload the dub as a separate audio track on the original video, so I wouldn't have to make 2 video uploads. But apparently, while YouTube can replace the audio tracks of my videos with AI without my permission, if I try to insert my homemade real human dub that I spent money on, that's not okay. I can't do that. I fucking hate it here. Anyway. The name of the film, Safe for Work, is something that I came up with relatively early on in the production, but the folder name is still Untitled Robot Fucker Film, because changing it would fuck with my file locations. Now, due to the involvement of other people, I had less freedom than usual to change things on the fly. I think the only significant change I made later down the line was to the design of the machine. I always kind of wanted the machine to not be particularly anthropomorphic. If you look at my inspirations for the machine, I'm sure people who've been here for a while are able to make the connection with the iterators in Raid World, which are also biomechanical, sentient computers. Though my larger inspiration was the Portal game franchise, where an AI is basically controlling an entire facility and has to keep its intention under the wraps, though by the events of the first game she has already kind of killed everybody. Portal spoilers, if anybody cares. Anyway, in both of these cases, the entire facility is like a grander entity, but it also has like a puppet or a vessel that's like sort of human-like. That's kind of like also like the entity by itself. It's kind of hard to explain, but you know, like while I think these are cool characters, these character designs are very cool, I also always thought that giving the building character this very like anthropomorphic vessel kind of undermines the sort of like lack of humanity. So I decided that my machine won't have any anthropomorphic vessel for people to imprint on. No cloth mother for you. Go die in a hole. What the fuck is the script? I wrote this myself! But I still kind of needed something for the protagonist, whom I've sort of unofficially been calling Raukareppana, which roughly translates to poor little thing, because she's the narrative's special little punching bag. So I needed something for her to stab at the end, something that would clearly be like kind of special. So I decided to give it some kind of like an ambiguous organ. Kuti first gave me some design concepts, and I then referenced both them and anatomical hearts and ovaries to create something I'd be able to animate. The design process is in the background. I didn't put the images of ovaries on the canvas because seeing internal organs in places they shouldn't be, i.e. Outside of the body, makes me nauseous, and I bet it makes other people nauseous as well. I also get motion sickness from animating these days. Between that and the wrist issues I've been having, I think I can safely say that I am no longer in the peak physical condition to be making animation, you know, at the age of 24. Enough of my issues. Speaking of the machine, I don't know what it does. I created this character before the whole AI boom happened. After the fact, I did kind of like consider making it a data center, and I don't know, it might still be one, but I just kind of like, I don't think it's important what the machine does. So, some kind of machine. It does something. It needs to be maintained by this overqualified woman who takes things apart as her hobby. Computers want me. I fear women. That's all you need to know. I could talk about all the background lore and the themes I wanted to explore in this video, but like, we would be here forever if I started doing that. Animation is the kind of medium where you need to come to terms with the fact that most of the things you planned won't ever be made explicit, or else you'd end up with a 20-minute info dump rather than a short film. I think that while I've wanted to make this film for a while now is basically the only time that it could have happened. For most of my time online, I've been caught up on the idea that the things that I create need to make me money and be enjoyed by a wider audience and be uncontroversial and easily digestible in order to be like successful or worth making. I love adapting media I like into animation because all my original ideas are probably a bit too out there for the average person to handle or enjoy, and I'm not that brave yet. But my views on my art have sharply shifted in the past year or so. I have been engaging a lot with smaller communities. Sometimes it's smaller fandoms and sometimes just like unrelated IRL communities. And like, did you know that you can get attention for free without making cool Warrior Cats memes? I know, that's crazy. You can just like get to know random people and show them the things you like, and not all of them will care, but some of them will. So maybe rather than wanting to make something profitable and widely enjoyed, I want to make something that'll appeal to myself and like maybe a couple other people. The sneak peeks were a bit of a hit in the Tumblr Objectum community, for instance, and that's great. And while obviously there are things with this film that I do differently now, even parts that I outright dislike, I've been trying to let go of the perfectionism that was holding me back from finishing it. After all, like, how many people can say that they've created an original 8-minute short film? I think that's pretty cool. For God's sake, dude, you need to chill. You're a hobbyist. Like, you can literally create anything you want. And the quality can be as high or as low as you want. Just, you know, have fun with that. Not everybody has that privilege. I don't think I'm ever making anything of this magnitude again with the whole finishing my studies and becoming a quote-unquote real adult with a 9 to 5. But who knows, we'll see. There's no way that my employment could go worse than with Raukarepana here. And that's all I had to say. Leave a comment. Comments are cool. I don't really care about anything else. I hope the film made you think. If you're going to have sex with a massive supercomputer, do not get electrocuted or lose your job in the process. I will not be held liable for that. Thank you, and I hope to catch you again with whatever it is that I create next. Bye!